You know what I want to see happen?
All of it? You just
Well, no, no, day one. I'm serious. I think this is going to be one of the most important things that takes place in the 4 years that we have Trump, and hopefully we have power for 12 years, but we'll settle for 4 for right now. Trump needs to fire hundreds of thousands of federal employees and begin the process. No, begin the process by which it goes through the courts. He'll do that. The federal employee unions, which is insane.
Yep.
That we even have
there
public
shouldn't even be
they shouldn't.
unions for government. That's
FDR agreed with us,
ridiculous.
by the way. He thought
That's
that was
absolutely insane.
They'll sue. There'll be a stay. 18 months, 2 years, gets to the Supreme Court. Gets to the Supreme Court, and the fundamental question is this. Does the head of the Article II executive branch, the duly elected president of the United States, get to hire and fire whoever he wants to inside the Article II branch where most of the administrative state resides? And I think this Supreme Court will say, yes, we agree with you. And then Donald Trump can become the demolition man for the administrative state. But he's got to move on it quick, because I think 18 months to 2 years might be a short route. It might be longer.
That's what Nancy Mace was saying.
What's your opinion on getting the bureaucracies out of D.C.? So
I love it.
Break up.
I want to send agriculture to North Dakota.
You mean like how Facebook moved content moderation to Texas?
We know that when corporations move their headquarters, simply by moving them about 20% of the workforce, it's downsized simply by moving the headquarters. So move agriculture to North Dakota, move another department to Kansas, and break apart the Leviathan that's residing in D.C. right now. And by doing that, I think you reduce it by 20%. Right out of the gate.
Astounding.
And I think Trump might actually go for that approach. I think there is kind of all of the above approach in regards to we have to deal with this bureaucracy. I think it is the thing. I think a lot of the issues that we're facing today in D.C., but the country writ large, have to deal with this massive bureaucracy that thinks it's going to dictate to the American people, this is how you're going to live your life.
Well, yeah, and they've been doing that for a while. And they haven't just been doing it in the U.S., but under the Biden administration and Obama, they were doing that globally. They were tying all kinds of funds to now Hungary, you have a whole LGBTQ thing. And when the people in those nations push back, the administrations get angry and, start working with the subversive groups in that country to push their agenda forward. I remember I was at a UN thing on the status of women a couple years ago, and there were these women from Rwanda saying, why do you guys keep pushing abortion on us? We just had a genocide. We want our babies.
Isn't it interesting how America, the position that we have in the world right now, we can either be a great force for good
or evil,
or we can be a force for evil.
And we've been evil just too much.
We have, and we've gone in and we have started to deconstruct the moral and cultural fabric of these various countries because of the woke mind virus that has taken over in these bureaucracies, in which they decide we're going to dictate not only to this country but to others around the world, with obviously strings attached to funding and to grants, that you're going to actually implement these woke agendas because we say so.
I think a lot of it has to do with the complete demolition of religion.
Yes.
Because if you look at the way that religion was practiced, the way that this is something I was just reading
Orthodox
about.
Christianity.
The way that Orthodox religion is practiced, Orthodox religion, Orthodox Judaism, you make everything in your life has to do with how you practice your faith. And so every basic thing is imbued with meaning. And so you go out into the world with confidence that you are practicing a life that is full of meaning and hope and faith just because of those small gestures. And when we take that away, we're all just out here struggling, trying to find meaning in something or other, and nobody can find it anywhere. And so they do this nonsense.
I think it was Sartre, French philosopher, who said a finite point without an infinite point of reference is pointless and absurd. And when you cut the cord to the transcendent, you do eventually devolve into this theater of the absurd in which you just make up things as you go. There aren't any absolutes. I think at some point, it was Francis Schaeffer, who I love, who once said, if there are no absolutes, society becomes absolute, and whatever society says at that moment is what is.
Well, and Sartre's play No Exit exemplified that.
So I think we do have to come. I mean, this country was founded on a common set of ideals and principles and values. And it would be nice if we got back to that, where we get a basic agreement on fundamental issues in which we say, these are right, these are wrong.
Well,
this is what the country was founded on.
If the government exists to facilitate a happy, successful, and fulfilled population. Like, why doesn't it focus on normal families? Why is I personally, I mean, I have my own intuition as to why, but like the idea of centering the marginalized lifestyles, you should be focusing on normal families, especially when everyone knows that the birth rate in the U.S. is on the decline and has been.
Demographic winter.
We should be doing everything that we can to encourage the population to have more kids, and we should have policies that endorse that.
Lefties' minds are going to melt when I say this, but we should look at Hungary's approach to what they're doing with policy. Again, this goes back to when you have political power, why don't you use it to actually implement things that are beneficial to society and actually cause fundamental change?
Yep.
I think Hungary spends about 5% of its GDP on actually promoting policies that strengthen the family, encourage growth of the family, and you're seeing it play out in their society. I'm like, we should do the same. We should spend a certain percentage of our GDP towards actually strengthening and promoting the traditional family and actually strengthening families, strong fathers, mothers, strong households.
This isn't an argument against Social Security or against the mandatory spending that we have, but like if we can spend the amount of money that we spend on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, we can spend some money on young people, trying to encourage them to have children and raise them in a way that makes them want to have children of their own.
Libby, there was something you said about the idea of Orthodox religion being in our lives. And one of the things that, of course, Christianity, I think Judaism and some of the other Orthodox religions teach is the idea of self-governance. And I remind people all of the time, we are a self-governing republic. And people think, well, that's great. The American people are governing themselves. Well, self-government is based off individual self-governance. And the idea of actually having a faith and religious influence on the idea that, at some point, someday, you're going to have to give an accounting to a transcendent creator. There are eternal rewards and punishments for that behavior. The idea of self-governance then leads to better self-government in which people are governing themselves. And the more people govern themselves internally, the less government you're going to need to actually bring order.
But we don't do that now.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.